politics. We are back with our panel, and we're going to focus right now on former President Donald Trump. He has 4 major cases ahead of him. So let's talk about this first. 2 federal probes, one into the former president's handling of classified documents, and another on election interference. Now, the criminal case in New York surrounds alleged hush money to Stormy Daniels, and finally in Georgia, where Mr. Trump is now charged with more than a dozen others for alleged attempts to overturn election results. So 2023, one case after another against the former president. However, does not seem to affect at all the poll numbers, as he is right now far and away the front runner on the Republican side of things as we look ahead to 2024. And now there's this whole Colorado case where he may or may not appear on the ballot, right, Katie? So when you look at the totality of the court cases, first and foremost, has it at all impacted him, besides his finances, which they could really go after, in terms of becoming president again, possibly?
Not when you look at the poll numbers, and I think it's benefited him that he spent so many years telling his followers and his supporters that to not trust these large institutions and to only trust him. I think it's really changed the way people view these institutions that they may have previously trusted and said, okay, this person's being accused of crimes, I'm going to actually believe what these accusations are. Instead, they find it just an attack on him. And when one of the trials here in New York, I spoke to some of his supporters, some people do believe that he's almost like the second coming of Christ, and anything he says is the gospel, and anything that you say that may poke holes in what he says is a lie. So I think that has been very successful for him because he leads very, very big in these Republican polls, and I don't know who could catch up to him.
The question remains, is there a difference between the Republican primary and then what happens in the general election, especially with regard to sort of independent voters, unaffiliated with a party, swing voters and so forth, where right now the polls might not be picking up on what could happen down the road where all of this gets used against him in a much more concerted fashion by the Biden campaign and other Democratic forces, where those independent voters take a second look and say, I don't know if we want all this Trump drama, or especially what's happening in the cases.
I want to highlight one scheduling thing, because now the Supreme Court's reviewing the big federal case about election interference in D.C. That probably means New York is first up on this criminal case docket. March 25th, it's slated to begin. Nothing really slowing that trial down. That's the falsifying documents case tied to trying to cover up an alleged affair.
Yeah, and some would say that maybe it wasn't a strategic move to skip the debates, Jeff, but it doesn't seem like that at all affected him either.
Not at all. I mean, he's still leading the polls by incredible amounts. And let me get hyper-local here.
Yeah, please.
Speaking of polling, Alvin Bragg, the Manhattan District Attorney, is going to, as Henry said, probably be the first the first prosecutor to really get to do a criminal case against Trump. We all remember when Alvin Bragg first took office as Manhattan District Attorney at the beginning of 2022. A lot of bad headlines. The Republicans nationwide, and of course Lee Zeldin and Donald Trump, they all criticized him as being soft on crime, whatever. I covered some polling earlier this year. Manhattan loves the guy, and I think they
because of the Trump factor.
I think most likely because of the Trump factor. I mean, we all remember, I think it was in April this year, Trump got arrested at Manhattan Criminal Court. It was a media frenzy. I mean, everybody was attached to the TV, the radio all day long, and Alvin Bragg was right there. His picture, and in Manhattan. Not a big surprise to say Donald Trump is not popular.
We also didn't see the crime apocalypse everyone predicted with his policies, so that helps too.
You're talking about the fact that there were so many people talking about the soft on crime approach. I can't believe that was just the beginning of this year in 2023 where we were talking about that. But let's talk about congressional maps, right? That's so exciting. Congressional maps are really important. It is super important, and this is what I've been stressing. It's not the most sexy conversation for a political group, but it is so important for the congressional lines and where exactly and how it affects Congress and who has the control of power, right? So first and foremost, Henry, let me look at you for a second. Just briefly tell me what happened with the maps and why they're being redrawn for those who may not know.
Well, the New York's highest court decided a month ago that the process last time we went through a whole court case and the special master drawing lines because the Democrats gerrymandered in Albany, which was found was improper because the Independent Redistricting Commission didn't essentially get a second crack to try to make maps before the Democrats took over and made a very Democratic-leaning map. And then you had the special master make a very 50-50 sort of map. So basically, it's the Independent Redistricting Commission early next year will get another crack at doing this. And then when and if the Democrats reject that again, then they can do a Democratic-heavy map.
Right.
That's kind of the prediction.
And some would say that this could, in this go-around, maybe help some Democrats win back some of these toss-up districts that became purple
Yeah.
New York 3 being one of them, the one in Hudson Valley with Mike Lawler's district as
17.
well,
Yep.
17.
Yeah.
Syracuse as well.
They
all
may
over the
go
state.
after Nicole Malliotakis down in Staten Island, that sort
There's
of stuff.
half a dozen New York districts that are in play, no matter what the lines are, really. At least a half a dozen.
And I know some people who, Carolyn Maloney was discussing maybe she would run again. I think it's reintroducing a lot of people who had sort of been tossed out over elections and the most recent elections. But again, it brings back some familiar characters. And I think the back and forth with the maps, for most people, it's very confusing to keep track of and what's going on with them.
Especially because you live in one area, you're like, okay, I'm in this district, now I'm in a different district. Justin Brandon's name is being floated around as maybe being a challenger to Nicole Malliotakis. But here's the thing, if it happens this go around, when could it happen again? Is this the next election cycle?
If there's a new set of maps in place for 2024, that should settle it until after the next census in
Famous
2030.
last
And then, but yes, no, there could be changes again. There could be more lawsuits. Even if they have a new set of maps, they could be challenged, and then the old set could be in place.
By the way, preliminary data, 2030, shows New York's going to lose a lot of congressional seats. So this is going to happen in a seismic way, not too distant future again.
2030. I can't even get through 2024.
We're looking way ahead.
Let's be very clear about the importance here, though. If Democrats had held these seats in New York, Eric Adams might have a lot more of the aid he's been looking for.
Going to have to leave it there. Okay, when we come back, everybody, a look to 2024. Can you believe that?